Hello, Scrappy Peep, Suzanna here today for a cherry on top, and I'm sharing with you this Mother's Day layout that I created using the new Happy Days collection from Cocoa Vanilla Studio, along with the sea foam stencil butter and a stencil from Simple Stories. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to gut this background. I did a poll over on my Instagram and asked my followers, you all, if I should use this photo round or square, and the majority seem to have voted for, well, it was pretty close actually, so I went with square because I found this really cool digital cut file that worked really well to frame the photo as well as go with the florals that are available as ephemera. So I am going to I cut a 2-inch border, but I knew that I wanted 2 inches on an inch on either side. So it's framed an inch. That's what I want to say, only a little bit more complexly. And then these are supposed to be 1/4 inch strips, but I don't actually have a 1/4 inch mark. So they're close enough to a 1/4 inch, and they're going to be the header and footer on that white piece. They provide a really cool contrast to the layout. So you can see I have pulled the, we're going to go with violet, and then the tealy blue and the yellows, and those are the colors that I want to work with primarily. And so that is why I have pulled those. And I love the way that framing the photo with the yellow also brings a lot more contrast to this. So a very bright, happy Mother's Day page. So this is from the, I think it's Heart Eyes collection from Simple Stories. The stencil, I just love the small hearts on repetition. When I stencil, I like it to be small details. I want it to look kind of like paint splatter. Not necessarily that it has to look like paint splatter, but I want that effect, that sort of earthy, organic effect. That takes away from the clean lines that I typically work from. So I'm going to set that aside to quote unquote dry. It doesn't actually fully dry. You know me, I can't wait. And I don't do these, I don't plan ahead of time. So I kind of work around it, but it is quote unquote drying while I figure out the rest of this. So I'm trying to cut a square, but it's an A5 pad because Cocoa Vanilla Studio is headquartered in Australia. And so I was trying to get out my centimeter ruler, or my ruler that had centimeters on it, so that I could make sure that it was perfectly square. I don't know that it is. It doesn't really matter. It looks square. And then using my Ultra Bond with a fine tip applicator to get a really fine line of adhesive down, liquid adhesive, so that I could get this down. You can see I kind of struggled with how I was going to get it down and maintain the right angles of the lines. And again, it doesn't really matter. So I just kind of went with it. Put that in the center of the page, and the idea is that I wanted to have the flowers at a diagonal. For some reason, it's just these larger flowers that there's just too much white for me. And so I am going to fussy cut, and I will show you this on super high speed, but then I will cut out the rest of the large flower cutting for you and spare you that agony. So you can see I've already pulled the color flowers that I want to use, and then I'm going to put them on the top right, and the bottom left is the diagonal that I chose. I think the reason that I did that is because my son is taller and he is on the right hand side, and so that works with the line there. Although if you look at the stairs that are behind us, they go from top left to bottom right, so that could have been, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, but that's why I did what I did. I think in part too, I chose that angle just because that's where I happened to put the stencil. There is a little bit on that bottom right, but I had intended for it to be more in the center. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so a couple of the flowers have just a shot of green in them. And if you look at that teal border that I used for the header and the footer, I think there's just a little bit of green in there. And that contrast is actually kind of fun. So there's also pink in that teal border, and then that sort of softer, it's more orange, coral really, of that bottom flower, bottom left flower. And so I just like that it is a little bit of variety from the flowers that are that I'm using, and the colors that are the bold colors that are there. So trying to pull some ephemera that, again, color coordinates. There's lots of really bright, fun colors in this collection. And so I just want to add just a little bit more so that it's not just florals. I converted the photo to black and white because there's a whole bunch of competing colors. We were about to go paddleboarding, and I was wearing a very multicolored shirt, water shirt, UV shirt. And so I thought the photo worked better black and white, especially with all of these bold colors that I have. So I'm just adding a little bit more along the line of the diagonal, and trying to get some variety in color. I love that little tag up there that says, love this. It breaks that line, which, captures your eye and creates some movement along that diagonal along the page. When you're working on a diagonal, you do not need to have a visual triangle because you've already created a line of movement there. So just adding in some fun things. There's lots of texture on this because I've only adhered the frame of that digital cut file. So all of that foliage adds some just fun movement to it. You can see the butterfly I am not putting fully folded so that it too has movement. And you just have to be careful when you slide them into the page protectors. So you don't see me put a second butterfly on here, but I am actually going to put one. That is my one move I think that I do off camera. And I absolutely love these chipboard letters that come with the collection or are available as part of the collection. You know me, I do the Suzanna title shuffle. And so I stuck it down and I was like, nope, don't want it there. So I'm going to make sure that that they fit going across the page or the photo before I actually stick them down. Better safe than sorry. Don't want to have to pull them all up. And so, yep, they fit, but I got to make them go ski-wampus, which is fine because it kind of goes with the movement of the butter there. I will spare you the agony of watching me do that. The one that I did pull up and pulled off the backing, I am going to have to use some liquid adhesive there. So I do wish that I didn't have that stenciled butter on the bottom right hand side, but it is what it is. It kind of takes away from that visual vertical line or horizontal diagonal line, pardon me. Adding some foam to this banner that says love that smile. Don't forget, if you want foam to go around a corner, you just cut it part way and then it bends nicely, quote unquote bends. And then adding that sort of look. I love how that purple flower or purple heart really makes that hello banner pop because of the contrast in colors there. So that, my friends, is going to pretty much wrap up. Actually, that's not true. Just adding those. And then I have the letter stickers as well that come with the collection. I love all of the colors. It's the same colors that are in the collection. And I'm going to use that to identify that this is a Mother's layout, and I will put Mother's Day in there. I also realized that I haven't really left myself anywhere within the design concept of this to journal. So I really like that label that I'm going to squish in there to just give myself a place to journal. It's not a whole lot of space, but I also am a memory planner. And so a lot of my stories kind of go across the memory planner as well as my pages themselves. Like if I have a long story, I'll tell it on the page, but if it's something like Mother's Day and flowers, it's not a long story, but there are multiple stories about Mother's Day between the layouts and then my memory planner there. So you can see how I put in Mother's Day there. And then other than that butterfly, I'm pretty sure that's all I use. So the collection is available over at A Cherry on Top. You do not have to go to Cocoa Vanilla Studio. Yay! Enjoy the close-ups. If you have any questions about the product and or my process, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Come back again soon. Take care.